You don't catch a cheating woman by checking her phone. You catch her by reading the shifts, the micro changes in energy, behavior, language, and distance. Cheating doesn't start with sex, it starts with secrecy, with emotional redirection, with small signals most men ignore until it's too late. So let's open with this. What's one sign you ignored that you later realized was obvious? Drop it in the comments, and if you're really listening, add the word mind so we know you don't miss the details. This video isn't about paranoia, it's about pattern recognition. It's about understanding how women communicate truth, not through confessions, but through consistency, or the lack of it. Masculine stoicism teaches us not to overreact, but to observe, to see what's said and what's not said, and to make decisions not based on hope, but on facts and self-respect. If you've ever been blindsided by betrayal, this one's for you. We're going to break down the behavioral signs, emotional detachment, subtle language changes, and withdrawal patterns that typically show up before a woman cheats. Not to spy, to know. Because once you can see clearly, you don't chase answers. You make moves. Let's get into it. The first sign isn't physical, it's emotional. Before she ever touches another man, she pulls her attention away from you. Conversations become shorter. Eye contact fades. Her laughter feels forced or delayed. You notice her nodding while you talk, but her mind is somewhere else. Most men don't catch it early because the surface still looks calm. But underneath, she's already elsewhere. Women cheat emotionally before they cheat physically. That shift in emotional attention is subtle at first. She stops asking how your day went, stops sharing hers, stops leaning in when you speak. She's no longer invested in your thoughts, your routine, your goals. You feel it, not in what she says, but in what she withholds. And if you bring it up too soon, she might call you insecure or overthinking. That's not a reflection of your mindset. It's a red flag waving in plain sight. Here's where masculine stoicism comes in. Don't panic. Don't accuse. Observe. Pay attention to consistency, not promises. If she used to call or text at regular times and now those gaps widen with weak excuses, don't demand answers, just log the change. If she starts opening up more to friends than to you, that's not harmless. That's redirection. Intimacy has to go somewhere, and if it's no longer flowing toward you, it's flowing elsewhere. This shift also shows in her feedback. Where she used to support you, she now critiques you more frequently, or worse, dismisses your thoughts. Her tone cools, compliments vanish. She might compare you to others subtly or overtly. These aren't random mood swings, they're signs she's emotionally disconnecting. And once that line is crossed, the physical follow-up is often just a matter of timing. The Stoic man doesn't chase to reclaim her attention. He watches to confirm what's already true. He doesn't beg for connection. He identifies when it's broken. Because a woman's emotional absence is rarely accidental. It's a sign. And if you ignore it long enough, that quiet distance becomes permanent. Recognize the shift early and you give yourself the power to respond before betrayal becomes undeniable. One of the clearest behavioral shifts in a woman who's emotionally or physically stepping out is her sudden attachment to her phone. Not just more use, more secrecy. The phone starts living face down. Notifications are silenced or vanish entirely. She angles the screen away when you're near, takes calls in other rooms, and suddenly has passwords you never knew existed. This isn't privacy, it's concealment. Women don't start being guarded with their devices unless there's something on them they don't want seen. That doesn't always mean another man, but it does mean something she doesn't want to explain. And when you ask casually, the answer is usually defensive, dismissive, or turns into a counter-accusation. Why are you being so paranoid? The shift is no longer just in her phone. It's in how she responds to being observed. Masculine stoicism teaches you not to dig for proof, but to read patterns. If she never had an issue being open before and now, every glance at her screen causes tension. That's not insecurity, that's data. You don't need to ask, who are you texting? You already know what matters. Her behavior has changed. And in the world of trust, behavior is the only language that counts. Let's be clear. A woman guarding her phone with that kind of intensity isn't just valuing privacy. She's protecting something. Could be conversations, apps, secret social media accounts, or photos. If her habits shift overnight and she offers no real explanation, the silence is louder than any message. Stoic men don't try to decode every word, they decode actions. The moment you feel like you need to catch her to get the truth, something's already broken. The goal isn't to confirm cheating, it's to recognize when transparency has died. You can't build trust where openness doesn't exist. When she shields her digital world, she's closing a door. And the Stoic response isn't to break that door down, it's to recognize when it's time to walk through your own. When a woman begins crossing emotional or physical lines, guilt doesn't always show up as withdrawal. Sometimes it appears as unexpected affection. She becomes oddly sweet, more giving, even overly helpful, especially after acting distant for days or weeks. This sudden surge of kindness isn't random. It's an internal response to guilt, an unconscious attempt to balance the scale without confessing the truth. You'll notice it in timing. After disappearing emotionally, after being cold or evasive, she suddenly offers to cook for you, compliments you out of nowhere, or gives a gift just because. Most men take this as a hopeful sign. Maybe she's coming around, maybe things are getting better. But in many cases, it's not a return to connection. It's a cover. Stoic observation is key here. Ask yourself, is this affection consistent or compensatory? Does it follow genuine intimacy and trust? Or is it a spike that shows up after tension or unexplained distance? When kindness feels like an apology without context, it's often hiding something. True affection builds slowly and stays steady. Sudden overcorrection is a mask for inner conflict. Here's a practical example. You confront her on her growing distance, and instead of addressing it directly, she deflects and then follows up with unexpected intimacy, physical or emotional. This isn't resolution, it's avoidance. She's soothing herself by treating you better, not fixing the deeper issue. That moment may feel good in the short term, but it's not rooted in real connection. It's guilt management. The Stoic man doesn't get swept up in temporary warmth. He tracks patterns. He knows that genuine change isn't dramatic, it's sustained. If you're getting bursts of affection surrounded by long stretches of coldness, you're not being loved, you're being pacified. And once you see the difference, it's hard to unsee it. Because a man who values truth over comfort can't be fooled by guilt dressed up as love. When a woman begins to emotionally detach, whether due to guilt, resentment, or interest in someone else, she often doesn't pull away directly. Instead, she creates conflict, not major blowouts, but recurring, unnecessary arguments over small things. The purpose isn't resolution, it's distance, emotional distance. She's manufacturing a reason to feel justified in disconnecting from you. Or worse, seeking connection elsewhere. This pattern often starts subtly. You'll notice more sarcasm in her tone, more criticism in your routines, or a sudden sensitivity to things she used to shrug off. She's not trying to fix anything, she's trying to feel less close. And if you take the bait, if you raise your voice or defend every little jab, she gets what she subconsciously wants. Emotional separation. From a Stoic standpoint, this is where most men lose frame. They react, they argue, they try to win. But there's no real argument to win because it's not about the topic. It's about shifting the emotional tone. And when you try to fix it, you reinforce her ability to control the atmosphere with chaos. Instead, observe. Stay calm. Stay present. And if you must respond, make it short, factual, and firm. We're not talking to solve. We're talking to escalate. That's not useful. Another red flag. These fights are usually followed by long silences, cold behavior, or emotional withdrawal. She may blame you for the tension, claim you're too intense, or use the fight as a reason to spend more time away. From the house, from communication, from intimacy. What you're seeing is a slow emotional exit, wrapped in just enough conflict to make it feel like your fault. The Stoic man doesn't absorb misplaced aggression. He doesn't internalize every mood swing. He watches the pattern and he sets a boundary, not with a threat, but with action. If fights keep happening without resolution, if tension becomes a routine, he steps back not to punish her, but to protect himself. Because when a woman repeatedly creates conflict without seeking closeness afterward, she's already halfway out the door. Don't wait for her to slam it. When a woman starts cheating, or seriously considering it, her routine rarely stays the same. The changes might look innocent at first. New social circles, unexplained schedule shifts, sudden solo activities, or more time at work. What matters isn't that her life evolves, people grow, but how she communicates it. And when routine changes start happening without clarity, that's your signal. Stoic men don't obsess over where she goes. They observe why the structure of her life is no longer aligned with the relationship. Has she suddenly become unreachable during certain hours? Has she started guarding her location, her plans, or her reasons for being away? Does she offer vague explanation, just out with friends? You wouldn't know them. It's nothing. Without any real substance? These aren't random shifts. They're distance in disguise. You'll also notice the energy behind the new routine. If her gym sessions become sacred and she's agitated if you even mention going with her, or she's always too tired to talk after hanging out with her new friends, you're not being insecure. You're seeing emotional reallocation. Time is attention, and when time starts disappearing without reason, it usually means attention is being redirected somewhere you can't see. Masculine stoicism doesn't mean you control her time. It means you value your own. You don't beg for an invite or chase an explanation. You calmly adjust your focus and observe whether the relationship dynamic still holds mutual transparency. If she avoids sharing her day, her whereabouts, or her mood and yet demands you stay available and emotionally present, the balance is gone, and when balance fades, betrayal often follows. Sometimes the signs are more subtle. New clothing habits, a different fragrance, or extra care in her appearance, just not when she's with you. These aren't reasons to accuse, they're reasons to reflect. Because if your presence no longer warrants her effort, but something else clearly does, you're not the priority, you're the fallback. The Stoic man doesn't investigate, he concludes. When routine changes signal emotional detachment, he doesn't chase closure. He creates it, not with a fight, but with distance. Not with words, but with self-respect. Because when a woman's daily life stops including you, and she offers no meaningful reason why, she's already made her decision. You're just choosing when to accept it. Cheating doesn't happen in silence. It happens in patterns. And the men who get blindsided are usually the ones who ignored the signs, hoping things would fix themselves. But you don't fix betrayal with effort. You fix it with awareness, with standards, with the courage to see clearly and act decisively. That's what a masculine Stoic mind does. It doesn't chase the truth. It recognizes it and responds with strength. You don't need to catch her in the act to know what's happening. Her energy, her habits, her emotional presence or absence say everything. And the man who stays calm, who listens without reacting, who draws the line without drama, that's the man who keeps his power even when the relationship falls apart. Not because he's cold, but because he respects himself more than he fears being alone. If this message resonated with you, drop the word mind in the comments. It tells us you're not just watching, you're waking up. This is Masculine Stoic Mind, where peace isn't given, it's built. We'll see you in the next one.